to tell you guys, I've had a couple of good days of practice, all right? Now, I don't say that very often. I don't think I come to you guys and say, hey, I'm feeling really good lately. You want to know why? Because I never am. Part of training camp, and training camp's always a term that for whatever reason, it's very personal. I resist it. I don't like the term. I don't like training camps. I don't like when guys have to leave home and be away from their families and lock themselves in isolation as a way of getting ready for a sporting event. I just don't get it. I've never gotten it. I don't see basketball players or football players. I don't see any of these guys going and doing some of these things that have been adopted by MMA fighters, which started from the boxing world. I don't even know that they're bad. I'm just telling you on a personal note, whenever I hear that term, I mean training camp. I'm a grown-ass man. You doing your camping? You're sleeping outside in a tent? It's the whole reason I've been prize fighting for my whole life. So my tent days are behind me. All right, fine. But I still do mark down on my calendar, in fairness, what is my training camp? And what's different about me than I think a lot of other athletes, and I got this from Randy Couture, okay? I came through Team Quest. Randy was the guy. Randy was the champion. I appreciated his skills and his work ethic and his discipline very much at the time of his career. But when Randy Couture's career ended, and it ended at 47 years old, going back and forth between two of the hardest and most coveted weight classes, light heavyweight and heavyweight, and capturing victories and staying healthy and staying apart, finding a way to extend his career to 47. That's when I really had a new appreciation for Randy. And as much as I stole so many different ideas from him and so many things that he did, he never spoke about that. I don't know if he has ever identified himself what it was that allowed him to extend his career. And that is a major sign of success. It's a major feather in his cap to be able to do it for that long. So I then had to sit back on my own and come up with my own hypothesis of why he was able to go so long. And one of the things that I was able to identify, aside from the obvious, aside all the buzzwords that he led a good life and didn't get into drugs and didn't get into alcohol and fast living and got a good night's sleep. I get all of that. You guys understand that too. But something that I was able to observe is that Randy also never did the training camp. When I talk about this term training camp, you're talking about guys that are sitting on their ass doing nothing, playing video game, whatever. Well, I don't even know what they do. I couldn't imagine getting up and doing nothing. But large section of our community of fighters, they do nothing. They then sign a contract for a fight. They still don't get off their ass. They wait until 8 weeks before the fight. Commonly, that 8 weeks is usually the number. And then they go back into training. And they use those 8 coveted weeks to study some film and start to work on their game plan. But the first 3 to 4 to 5 weeks is just about getting back into shape. And I see this happen, and it works a number of times. But those guys also have shorter careers. Randy Couture, on the other hand, went to practice every single day. And there was times where he did not work as hard in those practices as he did when the fight was getting a little closer. But he was there every day. And to tell you the extent of that, so I say this without exaggeration, the UFC, where Randy was fighting in, used to play Friday nights. Okay, there was a large part of the history of the UFC. It was a Friday night show before it went to Saturday. He would get on a plane Saturday. He would be back in Portland. He would usually come to a local event at the Roseland Theater to support the teammates, to be seen by the crowd, to come in and do an interview, to just do something, to just be a cool guy and give back to the community. He'd rest on Sunday and practice would be Monday. He'd be there. Now, don't forget, he was always fighting for world championships. You went and looked at 20 of Randy's fights, 18 of them are world championships. Okay, really hard, long, drawn-out, 5-rep battles and wars. That was on Friday. He would be to practice by 3 o'clock on Monday. I can even remember a time or two when he'd be all banged up and he wouldn't practice. He would be to practice on Monday. He would go into the locker room. He would change his clothes. He would be onto the mat at 3 o'clock like everybody else. And when coach got done showing instruction and says, okay, find a partner and let's work on this, a lot of times he'd wave his hand at somebody asking him to be his partner, signify, no, I'm not going to go. But he was there. He never got out of that habit. And I can just tell you, as a guy who's had a good life of discipline, but I have had a couple of breaks, taking that break, you just stop forming those good habits. All of a sudden, you start to have a mental burden. Practice at 3, it takes a half hour to get there. I got to be in the truck at 2:30. All that becomes almost too big for you to take on. You have to spend a good week just getting in the car and getting to practice on time. Then you got to deal with the warm-up, and then you got to deal with the instruction, then, whatever the live situation, the conditioning, the cool down to get out of it. It can take you a month, depending on how old you are, how poorly you got out of shape, to just be able to complete a practice, to be there on time and not leave early and do everything that's asked of you. It can take you a month. So my way of avoiding ever having to do that, and I did steal it by watching Randy, saw how he kept his body healthy, saw how he never had to do major weight cuts because he was always exercising and burning those calories, always in a level of shape. I was convinced that consistency is what helped to keep some of the wear and the tear off of his body. I could only imagine if he put on 30 pounds in between fights, then it doesn't know if he's heavyweight or light heavyweight, signs a contract for light heavyweight, has to lose all that weight super fast, get back in the gym, taking the punches, taking the kicks, and going through everything, as opposed to building up a conditioning and a resilience. I do not know for you for sure if I'm right. But I think as I just said it to you guys, that sounds right, doesn't it? That sounds pretty obvious. And I saw a guy even have a focus group. I saw a guy do it. And now I'm stealing from him and I'm doing it. The other side of that coin is when you're in a contact sport like this, it is very hard to feel good. I mean, you just end up banged up. Sometimes it's an injury, sometimes it's an owie, sometimes it's something in between. Either way, there's a soreness. It's long, it's drawn out. I had a point in my career where I had some goodies to take care of that. They came in, they changed the rules, they took all the fun out of it. But the point is now I'm stuck to an ice bath and a hot tub and a good night's sleep. Okay, great. But I usually don't feel good. So this training camp has been totally different. And I sat down and I had a real long conversation with my father-in-law, Steve. And he's a big athletic guy. And if you ever saw him, he looks like he's an athlete right now. Doesn't pack a pound of fat on him. He's always in shape. He's never not in the gym. He's always on a diet. He's just one of these guys. But he also follows my career very closely. He comes to practices. He comes to all the matches. So he was somebody that I could just lean on and go, look, I can't do what I used to do. And these were terrifying words for me to speak. They were terrifying words that I never wanted to bring into the universe. Laws of attraction and that whole thing. I didn't want to do it. And I will tell you guys right now, as soon as you ever hear an athlete of any sport say these words, train smarter, not harder. Never bet on him again. That is the kiss of death statement to everybody who is justifying being lazy, but then expects to get a really good result. It is a sucker's move, and it is a first step to failure by a lazy man to accept those terms. So I'm not doing that now, and I never did that with Steve either, but I did sit down with him and said, look, there is some fat on the bone here. We're going in and doing hour-long workouts in the morning. We have a little time to recover in the afternoon, and we go back in the evening, and we do 2-hour workouts, okay? But there's fat on the bone. If you go and look at those 2-hour workouts, they're spending the first 20 minutes warming up, running in a circle. Whole team gets down, they do push-ups, they count them off in a number, they roll over, they do sit-ups and numbers. I did all of that stuff. I did that stuff for 30 years. Jumping jacks together. I'm not teasing the coaches for doing it, but I am. When I talked to Steve, I said, look, that's 20 minutes of wear and tear on the body that, quite frankly, I don't need because unlike the other guys at the gym, I am warmed up. That's what I did this morning. That morning workout, that extra one I went, got that warmed up my body. I feel good. So I want to skip that. I want to come into practice. I want to skip that warm up. I want to go right in to the techniques, to the drilling, to the live, to the everything hard I want to do. But if it's not hard, I don't want to do it. So I'm not being lazy. This is very important to me from a psychological standpoint. I want to make sure I did the hard stuff. But sometimes I'll even be at practices and you'll fit. If everybody does a good job, we'll be rewarded. We'll be rewarded with a game. Sometimes we'll get a ball, play a game of basketball. We'll play, some kind of field hockey. We'll do something. Great way to trick guys into running and getting their cardio up while smiling and laughing. It's a team building. I believe in all that stuff. But it's still a game. So if I can take those 20 minutes away, I can take the front 20 minutes away. All of a sudden, I've kept all of the tangible parts of the sport. All of the learning, all of the condition, all of the drilling, all of the punches and the kicks and the stretches and the chokes and the takedowns, the whole bit. But I just saved myself 40 minutes. I saved myself 40 minutes of wear and tear. And the same thing goes for the conditioning workout in the morning. there is some fat on the bone. We've been able to polish that back from an hour workout to 45 minutes. In the afternoon, we are hitting an hour or sometimes just over. But it's not easy. There's no easy. There's no stand around instruction. You get a few minutes from the coach. You go back, kind of talk about it with your teammate. Okay, coach brings you back in. Listen to him talk 3 or 4 more minutes. I like being in the room for 2 hours. That is how my high school coaches did it. That is how my college coaches did it. That is how Clayton Hires does it. It is a 2-hour workout. So I don't take any pride in the fact of shortening up the room, but as I do look at it and I talk about it with Steve, we are now getting better results. I'm spending those 40 minutes doing something to recover. Instead of warming up with the gymnastics and the stretches and the push-ups and the sit-ups and the team of, I'll spend that in an ice bath. I'll spend that in a hot tub. And I'm just telling you guys, I am feeling better. Feeling better does not always equate to victory. And you will hear in this sport all the time that a guy must be confident. I'm here to tell you, as a pessimist, confidence has never served me. I do my best work when the house is on fire, when they are about to pull that curtain back, ask me if I'm ready, and I know full well what I want to tell them, which is no. Can I have another minute? But that's not the way this game is played. I'm telling you now, I will never use the words that are the early deathbed and trap of suckers that have come before me, that I am training smarter instead of harder. I will not say that. I am training just as hard. But I have tactically and strategically found ways to shorten my time in the practice room. One of the strongest guys I've ever met is a man named Les Gutches. One of the baddest son of bitches I've ever met, too, also happens to have the same name of Les Gutches. But he told me, this guy's strong. I mean, this guy is strong. He told me, you never spend more than 45 minutes in the weight room, period. You get in at 45 minutes, you get out. And if you haven't completed your workout, then when you come in tomorrow, do it faster. You don't spend more than 45 minutes. I, generally spend a little closer to 90. But I started to adopt more of his philosophies. I started to do it faster. I started to realize the cardio burst that you could get, as well as the strength, and start to combine that strength and endurance. This is before CrossFit came about. Some people don't like CrossFit workouts. I love them. I fully believe in them. I realize the naysayers. I realize that it moves very quickly and people don't take enough time and emphasis into training and doing the technique right. I get all of that, but I know how to do those right. I was trained by Tom Ogen. Tom Ogen is an aficionado of making sure that you have form before you ever even get to put a weight on the bar. So I just happen to know how to do it right. But I love that combination of a workout. I love that CrossFit has found a way to blow up your heart rate while working your muscles and getting it all done in 15 to 18 minutes. I think it's brilliant. So I'm stealing from, I will also tell you to do a CrossFit style, okay, that cross-training workout where you're getting all those reps in, all that exercise and all that weight gets moved in less than 20 minutes. That's harder than if you did the same thing the way I spent a large part of my life doing it. It just took me 90 minutes to do it. I wasn't doing any more reps in those 90 minutes. I was taking more rest and more breaks. So now I will tell you, when I started getting ready for Machida, and Machida, to be very openly, is likely the last name that I wanted to see come out of the hat. At that point in my career, I thought I had inside information. I thought it was going to be Chael versus Vitor. That looked like the way the wind was blowing. And just to remind you guys, Vitor and I got our own history. It dated back a long time, and Vitor became a free agent, meaning he's no longer locked up with the UFC. Now, he had subsequently retired. However, just as it comes into time, I get done with Fedor. Now I'm looking for a dance partner. Vitor throws his name back out. He says, you know what? I don't know about this retirement. I kind of miss the sport. And I really thought, and I knew they were having talks. I knew Vitor was flying out. I knew there was talks going on. And I'm hearing this stuff. I don't have any direct knowledge, but social media is a hell of a tool. And Vitor is finding his way to Scott Coker's office in San Jose. So I knew that this was going to be likely. And if he did land, I think he would have landed with me. But all of a sudden, Vitor ended up not signing. In fairness, had nothing to do with me. This is my way of saying Vitor chickened out. Had nothing to do with me. Vitor just ended up signing with the organization. Boom, I get a phone call. It's you and Machida. And the reason I say that Machida, it's just a weird style. I've been there, done that, guys. I go back to the mid-90s. Very late. In 1997, I had my first fight. I've seen it all. Whether I've been in there with those guys or I've been in practice, I've seen every style, every size, every which way that you want to do it. I've never seen Machida. The closest I think that I've ever had firsthand is when I used to spar with David Loiseau. And I don't know how great that comparison is, but David Loiseau was very tricky too. He was very quick. He was he'd make you look at his foot while he punched you in the mouth. He came from a Taekwondo background, but it was very unique for anything I had seen or felt. So when I tell you that Machida probably would have been the last name that I would have thought, I also didn't think that was going to be likely because I'm making my surgeons back down to 205 and maybe even doing some more heavyweight fights. Machida was officially named #1 contender at 185 pounds. He's off the radar. We are now in 2 different weight classes. Just simply isn't going to happen. Wrong. It becomes Machida. Okay, great. So when I start getting ready for Machida, my body was naturally bigger. I had spent over a year in the heavyweight division. So now I'm walking around at 230 pounds, 232 pounds. Too big for my own size. I don't want to be that big. My clothes don't fit the same. But at the same time, I need to be responsible. If they're going to put me in there at heavyweight, there was talks of doing a match with Mitrione. We were both in the Grand Prix. We both lost in the semifinals. Let's have the loser's ball, play this thing all the way to third. I mean, I didn't know where I was going to go. So to get disciplined and get some weight off when maybe I'm going back up the other, I just didn't know what to do. So when I started the comeback for Machida, I must tell you, I was getting tired fast. Above everything else, I was just getting tired fast. I'd be partway through practice. I'm huffing and puffing. I'm looking over. My partner is too, but I'm wheezing a little harder than he does. This is a weight issue. Then when I'm in there sparring, I'm getting punched. I don't get punched very much. My fight career, I don't get punched very much. In practice, I don't get punched very much. I got relatively good eyes, not trying to compliment myself here. Just the opposite because I was getting punched. Guys are hitting me right in the face. What's going on? I'm in practice. I haven't taken my eye off the ball. I still got the eye of the tiger, but I'm getting tired faster, and I'm also getting hit more. And I was resigned. You know what this is? This is a scale. I got a weight issue. I can get this weight off naturally. I am going to feel better. Naturally, I'm going to be quicker. I don't know if you guys have ever done this. They have something called a weighted vest. One thing that I will do oftentimes at Strength and Conditioning is we will warm up with a weighted vest on. Now, if any of you don't know what that means, it's exactly what you would think. It's a vest that has weights in it. The weighted vest that we use up at the hill, it's 40 pounds. So we'll go do a warm-up. It's a mile-long warm-up, and we'll do some dynamics in there and some side steps and walk backward and go up a hill. We'll do a lot of things, but at the end of once you go a mile, you're now full loop. You're back at the training facility. You can take your vest off. I can tell you how bad it sucks to wear that vest, but it feels so good as soon as you take it off. I feel like I could jump up and dunk a basketball. I mean, you feel really good when that weight comes off. So I was using that as an example, going, okay, I'm weighing about 232. If I get that down to about 212, 215 even, I'm going to feel like I took a weighted vest off. And I think I'm going to be in better shape. I think I'm just going to be able to last longer. That makes sense. I think I'm going to be a little bit quicker. I think those punches are going to quit landing. And sure, I pushed through every practice as hard as it was, as tired as I was. I pushed through. I'd be wheezing some days. I'd be on the mat, gasping for air. People looking around thinking, what's wrong with Chael? But there's nothing wrong with me. I just weigh too damn much. And I just did the practice as hard as I could do. The result wasn't totally what I wanted, but I'm banking on one thing, which is my condition is going to go up. And when I pull that weight down, I'm going to get to reap the rewards. And I'm really feeling it. I'm not calling for victory in this man. It's a two-man sport. But I will tell you, the biggest fear that an athlete has that does combat, boxers, wrestlers, mixed martial artists, the biggest fear we have is not losing. It's not failure. That's publicly what we say. Privately, the biggest fear every combat athlete has is exhaustion. That you will reach exhaustion and not be able to finish the fight. That you will reach a level of fatigue where you can no longer protect yourself. That is the biggest fear. That is why you guys will always see in every countdown show, from boxing to mixed martial arts and anything in between, you see so much road work. Guys are outside running. Why are they outside running? Well, you got to have your gas tank. It is the biggest fear that any combat athlete has, and I'm no different. And I'm feeling that gas tank as the weight comes down, that tank is extending. I don't know that I could go 15 extremely hard minutes right now, and I will need 15 extremely hard minutes against Machida. I concede to that. It's a very tough fight for me. but I'm close. I was at 6 minutes a couple of months ago. All of a sudden, I got to about 8 minutes. I passed that 11-minute mark. I'm close to going 15. And the training I'm not doing anything different. I'm training hard. I listen to my coaches, but I'm getting that weight off. And I'm really feeling, I just thought that I would share that with you guys because you still get a cheat day. Now, in the words of Mike Dolce, it's not a cheat day, it's not a cheat meal, it's an earned meal. So I'd earned a meal, which is really the whole point of that long diatribe I just went on to tell you guys what I did. So I have been eating 7-layer burritos since they started making 7-layer burritos when I was in high school, and they're delicious. There's 7 things in them. I couldn't name them for you. I think guacamole and sour cream and beans and rice and lettuce and tomatoes. Boom, I'm at 6. I'm forgetting one thing. Maybe they count the wrap as number 7. But one thing about the 7-layer burrito is there's not a whole lot of substance in it aside from the beans, which are very good. They're refried beans, and I'm sure they're processed to hell, and I'm sure they put a whole bunch of sodium and maybe even slip some sugar in them. It's a very good snack. But I pulled into Taco Bell yesterday on a whim. I had an earned meal coming. I had fasted all day. Now, my father-in-law, Steve, had roasted up some chickens, but he took them to my house. So I just finished my second workout. I'm starving, and I got 40 minutes to get to the house. And I'm thinking, wait, I could use my earned meal, save those chickens, eat them tomorrow. But here's what I'll do. I'm going to pull into Taco Bell because it's right off the exit, and I'm going to ask the guy. I'm going to tell the guy straight up, I've been eating these 7-layer burritos since you guys started making them. What do you think about throwing some chicken in there? I actually went with a steak. I was going to ask, could you do chicken or steak? And I did ask him that, and he said yes. I said, great, put some steak in there. So now I've created an 8-layer burrito, which when I asked the guy, apparently wasn't a big deal. Kids have been doing this from the beginning of time because he knew exactly what I was talking about. But I felt like I had just reinvented the wheel here. So you know what my gift for you guys today is, aside from this wonderful podcast, of which I'm glad you all tuned in for. But you want to know what the tip of the day is? Get yourself a 7-layer burrito. Don't change anything. Add steak to it. Thank me later.